The African Continental Free Trade Agreement has come into effect, but what are the benefits as well as the challenges now facing African countries who are signatories to this agreement? Well, joining me to discuss this is Jonathan Katzenellenbogen, who is a writer with the Daily Friend online newspaper. Jonathan, welcome to the CRA channel. Could you give our viewers a sense of the details of this agreement and also the obligations that it puts on African signatory countries?
Well, there are no real obligations on the signatory nations at the moment because the agreement has formally come into effect. But African countries, other than those in customs unions, will not be trading with each other on a free tariff basis for many years. The agreement was signed by many countries back in 2018. The agreement was at the initiative of Rwanda, the Rwandan President Kagame. And so far, 54 of Africa's 55 countries have signed the agreement, which is significant in itself, but only 34 have ratified it so far. Now, the agreement has come into force. It came into force on the 1st of this year, last week, that is, and it means that countries will now have to involve themselves in negotiations. There's a tariff round, and the status of that is that 44 countries have submitted tariff liberalization proposals. The aim in this first round is to eliminate 90% of tariff items. Then that's not the value of trade, but 90% of tariff items. And many countries don't even trade in those tariff items, which will be eliminated. So that discussions are underway is quite significant. Also, there are talks on rules of origin, which are highly important to a free trade area such as this, because the fear is that China and other countries, but particularly China, would be able to take immense advantage of this free trade area if proper rules of origin are not applied. And that will be one of the most difficult aspects of the agreement to enforce, because few African countries have customs mechanisms that are sufficiently sophisticated and effective to allow them to enforce rules of origin, which involve proof of that the goods that they produce and services, for that matter, are produced in African countries and that are signatories to this accord.
So, Jonathan, in the Daily Friend article, which we'll link to in the description below, you highlight a number of potential problems and challenges that might confront this agreement. What are those exactly? What problems might be coming down the road?
Well, if the past was prologue to this, it's not particularly good. There are 13 regional economic communities in Africa, and they like to think of themselves as free trade areas or customs unions in the making. But it's only in Southern Africa where 5 countries are members of the world's oldest customs union, and the Southern African Customs Union. And that, of course, is South Africa, Namibia, Botswana, Lesotho, and Eswatini, formerly called Swaziland. So not much progress has been made there, apart from this exceptional arrangement in Southern Africa. But even then, only 5 of SADC's 16 members are part of this customs union. The other problems have been that for smaller countries, the problem is that a large share of their total budget revenue comes from customs. That's not true of South Africa, Egypt, Kenya, and Nigeria, but for many smaller countries and the least developed, that tends to be the case. And they could be foregoing a bit of revenue, although they don't trade in any of these items between themselves. So there's not much revenue to be foregone in this case. But so that in itself shows that if there's not much revenue that you're foregoing in many cases, because we're talking about most of Africa's exports to other African countries, exports to other African countries are manufactured goods. And South Africa, of course, is the major exporter of industrial goods, manufactured goods to the rest of Africa as an African country. So that in itself shows that indeed that countries might be willing to forego this. The other thing is that these African Union initiatives in the past, there's one for monetary union, are pie in the sky sort of stuff. But this might well be grounded in a fair bit of reality, because it is to the advantage of many countries to be involved in this. The real practicalities of the situation are difficult, and it will take many years. And the Secretariat of the Free Trade Area Agreement has admitted as such. But things are underway, talks are underway. And if there is improved governance and so forth, there is a hope.
So, Jonathan, you've spoken about the intergovernmental level, but what about private businesses and private investors? What interest do they have in seeing this agreement succeed?
Well, a number of people that I've spoken to say it's really private business that is driving this, because it makes little sense in many cases for instance, a business to set up a factory in a small African country. A factory cannot achieve the economies of scale required for profitability and to lower costs if its market is only that of a small African country. It needs a large market area in which to achieve those economies of scale. So there are a large number of businesses that will perk up their ears upon hearing of this. It creates an investment story for them. It creates justification. If they can say we can set up a factory in Rwanda that'll serve East Africa, that changes the game for them. That perks up their interest. And, there's always an interest in new frontiers for business. Where should we invest is a continual issue that they face. They always have to be on the lookout for new opportunities. And this means that investing in Africa could make enormous sense for a large number of countries. From that flows a whole lot of things. Africa is regarded as the last frontier in terms of industrialization, and mass industrialization must happen on our continent at some stage. And I think that this a unified, open market changes the situation and will mean great interest from the rest of the continent. And bear in mind that it's in services as well. So that means it's a far wider agreement than normal trade agreements.
Well, Jonathan, thank you very much. I certainly hope that the potential opportunity of this agreement is realized and that some of these challenges can be overcome. My name is David Ansara. Please remember, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and check out the link in the description below to our 30-day free trial. Until next time, take care.